All right, so we got razor sharp edge, not bad. I like it. So obviously the thing you got to think about is sustain. And nothing yet.
Yeah, I'm interested to see people's Wellington build pass because I think Wellington's actually an extremely strong champion, but he struggles in certain aspects against Divinity. Um, looks like we've got two going for
Strangler.
Root.
Yeah, Strangler is nice. I think going for Quick and Strangler is probably what you want to see. So you're offered both here. So it's hard to say what one to go for first.
We have Sal starting on Quick. Other two so far started on Root, and then Nate is the only one who hasn't decided yet. So we kind of have a nice little classic build to round out the day here. Obviously, Wellington not OG, but a nice little Awoken Hellhorn. Going to see some old school cards and how they face up against Divinity compared together. Nate's really thinking about Strangler versus Quick here.
I think I would go lean towards Strangler just because of it being a guaranteed sweeper and razor sharp edge.
Yeah, I think
that's my thought.
I think probably Strangler for the sake of points. That's the thing that's really going to let you, make sure you don't have any leaks. There is a sustain problem with the deck right now, but you can kind of soften up some waves via the torches. Strangler is also going to scale well with the root seeds. As long as you don't think you're losing your kill wave, just making sure that you don't have any problems against waves that go wide or holding double tank waves down for a while. Strangler is going to help you save a lot of points that way.
You can also get a quick tome, right? So we have a flawless kill from Gabriel to start us off.
Yeah, so the first trial was Spikes, and it looks like we have Sowlink having some problems with it. He went quick.
Sowlink went quick, yeah.
Yeah, he just couldn't plug it up.
Fire damage. Just not enough attacks, basically.
I always find it really interesting when we see this 2-2 split. Okay, so I'm gonna give the defense for this here, which is when you set up quick, an overstacking deck is really, really strong. I also think overstacking in specifically Hellhorned Awoken is very strong. Oh wow, that Steel Singer, especially with an overstacking deck, is kind of sweet.
Cheap Steel Singer, you got Focus Growth, but that's about it. So I don't know, it's tough.
I mean,
Glimmer as well.
It plays well with an overstacking deck, like even just on raw stats. The part is fine.
You could get like 3 Steel Singers.
So this is going to be very interesting. I actually like the overstacking deck here. I think if it's not on the same draft as an Inferno, then it's a slam dunk. I would actually just lean hard into building an overstacking deck, even duping hidden passages if it's necessary. The Inferno is a really strong consideration because you keep Wildington, like a sweet Wildington, alive better by pre-clearing waves with Inferno, specifically pre-clearing a lot of small things so that you're not hitting as many spikes.
So it looks like Sellink's the only one that took damage on ring 1.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong start. I'm actually interested in what Sellink might have in mind for this Lightstone casing. Definitely a long-term investment play, and he didn't really start with anything that's super insane. The Glimmer could be really, really good with 2 Temple enhancements plus holdover.
True. There's also, Lightstone casing and Inferno is nice.
That is true, though he didn't have that knowledge when he originally took the casing, and the Scorch Steel is a little more guaranteed early value.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong spells with these 2 clans.
So Gabriel is skipping on the Steel Singer in favor of Shattered Shell, I think trying to hedge against the fact that he's one of the people on a quick build. Also, Shattered Shell is going to work pretty well with the Enchant Quick here coming out of Wellington. I think you'll just lose a little bit of late game potential. Though obviously Shattered Shell is one of those creatures that can scale pretty well, especially if he can keep it sustained. Oh wow, look at that. If you look at the bottom right here, we have a Demon Fiend draft for everyone who went for the Forever Flame and anyone who's going for an overstacking deck, you can just build up some insane Demon Fiends. Keep
Yeah,
throwing them up to top
like
floor. Go nuts.
the two big flaws of Demon Fiend are it's too big and it's too expensive. Whereas if you have those two things, that's not an issue. So Gabriel completes a flawless ring 2.
Oh wow, a second hidden passage in this next draft.
Mm,
Like
I
if you
mean,
skip on the
it's not
first
a big.
one, then you probably don't take the second one. But I think the overstacking deck here is really strong.
I think it's strong, but the problem is if you get too many hidden passages, then they don't do anything once you've used them.
You still have, I mean, you still have some like marginal outs from that point, like Iron Drop Cage. But there's a lot of enemies that became relevant now that you can really mess up with hidden passage. If you think like conduit infiltrators or enemies that are enchanting their friendlies with spikes, you'll end up taking some damage, but sometimes that's what you need to survive a fight.
So sound like another ring for Cellink that where he wasn't able to get the flawless victory.
Yeah, Sowlink is going for the overstacking strike. He took the Steel Singer and he took the hidden passages. There's just going to be a question of like how fast can he get that setup going. I think it's a little tough to rely on like an intrinsic hidden passage because then you're also not guaranteed the second banner in your opening hand. He really just needs to get a really solid draw engine online, trim cards out of his deck. That way he can set up at least 3 units in his top 4 in the first couple turns.
Holdover, okay. So Lightstone Casing leading to a holdover 1-cost Inferno is pretty strong, I'd say, and that might even be worth duping.
Yeah, I would actually say it's definitely worth duping. The number of things that start at 200 or like 180 health, base health, are really numerous when you get into the late game.
Then, and when you talk about number of strikes, like that cuts it down tremendously.
Yeah, we have to think about number of strikes required to deal with a wave, and also number of strikes that you're forced to have for the sake of clearing out enemies when you're dealing with spikes. You know, every strike costs you something pretty considerable.
Rage does not decay. No rage in the deck yet.
Yeah, there was the possible ritual battle, but the ritual battle is doing it's overlapping a lot with the Inferno here.
Well, it's a common spell, and so they can't get it anymore. So we have less good rage spells now. You can't get the Fledgling Imp or the Ritual Battle at this point.
It can actually help in a pretty considerable way for your first cycle troubles, given that it gives you an extra damage boost off of rage upgrades and shops. And with an overstacking deck, you're kind of taking most of your Merchant of Steel upgrades, like even just a lot of the common ones, because you just have so many units to throw things onto. So I like people leaning towards overstacking decks here. Definitely going to have to consider long term what the sustain plan is here. Something like Glimmer is really good, but individual regen, not sure.
I would even consider spreading spores here and then go for more health on to Wildenton, which means for example, if you went quick flex into the other path, that gives you more health.
Yeah, spreading spores.
You don't have to deal with. Okay. Then you don't have to deal with sustain until the boss.
So spreading spores does overlap a little poorly with your sweep and your inferno plans. Not to say that it makes it bad, but it's one of those things where it's tough to evaluate it in a positive or even just accurate light when it has so many anti-synergies.
So we see Gabriel, spreading spores is in fact offered, and Gabriel turns it down. Now he's evaluating some units there.
Man, imagine someone.
Code, the demons are much better.
Imagine someone passing on spreading spores back in like beta days. That would have been unheard of. Yeah, the Gert's Goad going to play very well into this overstacking plan. Did no one end up on the Demon King? Whoa, we have a restart there.
So
From Nate.
restart from Never Nathaniel on ring 3, was it?
Yeah, I think he's in the ring 3 fight. So we'll be able to find out in a second. All players keeping a pretty even pace.
A flawless. Cellink gets a flawless ring 3, his first flawless victory.
Yep, that was on ring 3 for Nate. Sowling choosing to go for the Spreading Spores. I like it, given that he has the Lightstone casing. His mana is not taxed thanks to the Forever Flame. I just really like to see some bigger things coming out of these this overstacking plan, because all players seem to be, if not leaning into it, at least hedging towards the overstacking plan. Though I don't think many of them went to the side that had that Demon Fiend banner.
So he puts -2 cost on the Spreading Spores, which means he'll be able to afford double. Well, he can't afford it, but he can put double stack and have it end up with 0 cost.
So I'm going to try to get into Sowling's head a bit here. I'm thinking it's use Spreading Spores not for sustain on Wilmington, but actually just like mainly focus on powering up your Steel Singer in the early to mid game, and then once you transition to a point where you need that Spreading Spores to play on your front line, you start duping Steel Singer. Yeah, so Sowling is on Steel Singer overstacking. So I'm thinking his plan is to dupe the Steel Singer and just make a few insane Steel Singers.
I mean, it's still a sustained plan.
Yeah, but for right now, I think the Spreading Spores is playing the additional role of a catalyst to buff up your Steel Singer before you start using Hellvince on it. It's going to be a lot of permanent rejuvenate buffs in Relentless Fights here. And I like the plan here. I'm not sure about having the other units. They might just be necessary for now because the Steel Singer isn't quite going wide enough, and he wanted the Husk Hermit for some sweeping since the Wilmington doesn't have it yet. But it is going to cost him a little consistency on his Steel Singers later in the game when he preferably has, 3 of them, I would say. Yeah, I'm thinking the Husk Hermit might be tossed out later. Depends on how strong the Steel Singer gets.
Brutal to see the 1 health remaining on that Zolver. So finally get a kill from Never Nathaniel on ring 3. It was flawless, but it took him a couple tries here.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, if you feel like you're comfortable with the time, you might as well go flawless just to have more health for later. As we've seen today, survivability can be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I'm not loving how it's going for Gabriel here. He's kind of behind the waves.
Yeah, he's been the weights of contrition just messing up his draws here have been really clunky. There's also just an issue where like you have to commit to either not taking any pyre damage or accepting that you're going to take a decent bit, and leaving these units on the floor, trying to set yourself up for kind of a long-term game plan, but just rooting them in place can really pull you apart there. Also, the Absolvers are a bit tricky because you're trying to avoid taking the weights of contrition so you can have that perfect fight, but it's costing you a lot more in terms of how you're dealing with bigger waves. He's coming out of it all right, so it's going to be an okay fight for him.
Strangler coming in clutch.
Interesting. Having problems thanks to the spikes on the enemies here. Scaling on the Shattered Shell, not doing too much because it's causing them to die faster. In fact, he just put himself further off because he just took Shattered Shell down to 15 health, which is means it dies to 1 fewer spike hit. Yeah. Guessing he double checked. Yeah, he's
so Gabriel needing to restart ring 4, and Sowlink not killing. I think he might be okay math wise though. Yeah. So Sowlink gets the ring 4 kill with heavy damage.
Yeah, again, I think Sowlink has kind of the deck to have here. But there's
Unleash the Wildwood. You like seeing that?
that's your sustain plan, especially for an overstacking deck, very specifically. You can now just do whatever you want on top floor.
Now he can even dupe the Steel Singer earlier than he probably planned to if he wants to.
Yeah, I think the overstacking deck is the way to go here. I see a lot of players, and this is a tempting thing to do, is build up, a few strong units, aggressively go for Merchants of Steel, and just have this like mishmash of units in your overstack floor just to make sure you have enough of them. That leaves you a lot of room to hellvent other things. But honestly, I find that I get better value in overstacking decks when I just focus on hellventing individually strong units, especially when I'm looking at units like Steel Singer and Demon.
Yeah, it's tough when a lot of units don't provide much value just by being there. They need to be enhanced.
Oh, that's going to be a rough fight for Nate up there. It's like he lost a lot of resources on top floor.
Yeah, and this is his. This would be the second ring where he had to restart.
Cabrio leaning on that single copy of Fortify played right there, just to barely keep an Alpha Fiend alive. Sometimes that tiny bit of healing or armor is all you need. Just one little nudge in the right direction. Interesting though to go for Light of Seraph when you're on an overstacking deck.
Never Nathaniel has to restart ring 4.
Yeah, it's been a tough day for him. Double elimination means he got to play more this time, so he's got that going for him. But definitely a lot of resets.
Victory for Sleepy Bear Jake on ring 4. Flawless victory, in fact.
And Gabriel looking to come out of this fight really cleanly on his reroll. Just a little bit of knowledge going into it helped out a lot. Well, it's not completely clean. Still losing to spikes a lot here.
Well, he'll make it through at least.
He will.
And the fact that it's not flawless doesn't matter since he had to restart.
Yeah, but you definitely don't want to go down to 31 health here. So yeah, there's the payoff I mentioned before. Now you go to 3 copies, maybe even more of your hidden passages. You can even really afford the holdover one. It means that if you get that holdover one in your opening hand, you're very well set up to just put all of your overstacked units where you need them. But also then it's very similar to something like a Siren Song or Mortal Entrapment. Just really locked down floating boss. So yeah, the drop cage is going to be big.
Yeah, just even single tapping the Divinity. I think he has. I don't know if he has holdover on Hidden Passage, but much more tempting now.
Yeah, I think I'd still prefer probably to hold over the Unleash the Wildwood first.
Well, yeah, I mean, in Sellink's case, it's his scaling, but
so we have the Nexus Spike event popping up, by the way. You can see it over on Sleepy Bear Jake's screen. He chooses to just get rid of get rid of a torch. I'm not sure what I would have wanted to build with it. A lot of weird things.
Flawless ring 5. Now that Sellink has scaled up his Steel Singer a bit, he's in a much stronger position, I think. He's taking interesting. He's taking the healing channeler. I wonder if he's planning on infusing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. It's not like it's a pretty solid essence. It's kind of made to balance out the card a bit. So I'm actually really interested there. He skipped March of Shields, And I mean, March is generally a pretty underwhelming card. It's not going to play with your healing very well. But the ability to rearrange your overstacking floor can matter a lot, especially when you're on Steel Singer alongside sweepers, because you might not be able to affect the order based on how you draw, and it can be very important to have that sweeper go first in the attack step.
Yeah, just as I called it, he put the healing essence on the Steel Singer, so it's basically one extra trigger per round.
Yeah, it's also a lot of inherent sustain, which is possibly enough for him to just not worry about Unleash the Wildwood as much as he can worry about Hidden Passage here. I think I'd lean towards holding over Hidden Passage now.
I don't think he even needs sustain. It's more he wants the triggers. Because Spreading Spores is pretty good on its own. The nice thing about the Essence is if he overstacks the Steel Singer, it's going to hit them both.
Yeah, also, yeah, so duping the Steel Singer, by the way, a lot more tempting now. I mean, it was obviously going to be the play before, and I think it's what he was building towards. But now you're going to get edge prior triggers on all those duped copies as well.
Yeah.
So if you try to get to about 3 of them, then you're looking at 15 points a turn, 3 triggers a turn, without doing anything.
And, 15 healing a turn is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. Arcus here, one of the easier bosses for an overstacking deck to tackle. The goal in an overstacking deck is to not play too many things on your kill floor and also not have things die. Incant triggers can kind of be lined up however you want. The only awkward scenarios you can run into there are hidden passages lining up with incant shards, but they don't have to fight the incant shards at all here. So Arcus's ability is not a particular problem.
Ring 5. There's an alternate universe where Imp in a box is the thing.
Yeah, it's probably not the way to go with the overstacking deck here. So he also skips the March. I still think I would like to see the March there.
Yeah, I don't know what I know what Soundlink's sustain plan is. I don't know what everybody else's plan is.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Glimmer, but I don't think anyone else picked it up. Nate on a restart again over here.
Is this a new ring for him to restart?
We'll find out in a sec. So I still think Soundlink's overstacking plan is the best setup one here.
Second restart. He already restarted this floor. Yeah, Soundlink is it's got my eye as far as the strongest potential. Everyone else seems to be struggling a bit.
Yeah, it looks like we might have a tough fight here from Jake.
Sleepy Bear is going to have to restart because the boss is doing too much damage.
Yeah, so Harpy actually, obviously if you're able to deal with Harpy based on just the raw stats, then you're perfectly fine. But Harpy is particularly well set up to deal with overstacked decks just because it's not losing too much damage on some of those chunkier hits as it's clearing through your first couple of units. Obviously still not particularly intimidating, but stronger against overstacking decks than most bosses.
Right, because it's going to kill like 6 guys in your back line in one round if they're all low health.
Yeah, and I think as the person who saw the Demon Fiend, Jake probably should have ended up on that plan. So I definitely want to also remember to ask him what his thoughts were on that Demon Fiend draft.
I mean, if I were a betting man, I'd say Soundlink has got this one in the bag with a rough early start. I mean, he's even got a good number of shards as well if it came down to that.
Yeah, I think second is a really interesting story here between Jake and Gabrielle, because their plans seem to have pretty similar pitfalls and pretty similar tribulations lately. Like they're both either barely killing bosses or barely not killing bosses.
Another Unleash the Wildwood. I mean, I think you got to take it. Like you just take them all. He goes for the dark deal.
Yeah, I actually like the dark deal. You're not worried about the damage because you're going to be able to heal up passive anyways. The burst damage from it is a lot more considerable than the Unleash. You already have the one copy of Leash, which you're looking to buff up anyways, and you're going to have the 3 triggers from Edgebriar every single turn, which honestly, you're not too much worried about the Rejuvenate triggers from your Steel Singers in the last couple fights, as you are just about the keeping enough healing to outpace the damage that
I
you're
like
taking.
Hell's Banners. Like you could get screwed by. Oh, that's not bad too. The faulty loader. The reason I like Hell's Banners is you do have 1-cost units, even with Forever Flame that you're trying to play.
Yeah, I think Hell's Banners would better enable setting up your overstacking floor on turn 1 a lot faster, especially if you end up getting gunked up with a bunch of unit draws, because you're going to draw multiple banner units at some point. Even though only one is guaranteed, you're just going to end up on so many of them in this type of deck. I think I like the Hell's Banners there too. The Faulty Loader feels pretty underwhelming given the level of sustain that he has. Now, one thing to consider, only one player, which is Jake, ended up with a Pyrostone housing, which, if you're in an overstacking deck, Pyrostone housing is extremely strong. He hasn't managed to leverage it to a great degree because he's not duping units as much as he's just taking a bunch of units. So maybe that approach didn't line up with that artifact well, but as far as artifacts go for this deck, I think that's one of the strongest.
Yeah, that Shattered Shell that he drew on turn 1, that's kind of rough. Like I would be tempted to drop that thing if I were selling, because that's hurting his scaling quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs this, or the Husk Hermit, do you mean?
Or yeah, the Husk Hermit.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking earlier. I think he just needs to get more Steel Singers and get them faster. He also hasn't hit Hellvents. He's been kind of swerving around them. Obviously making, some very thoughtful decisions about what he wants to do, which side he's going to on the side of the train here, but on the side of the tracks.
No, he did dupe a Steel Singer.
So he has 2 of them right now. I think the ideal number is you end up on 3 Steel Singers here.
Yeah, and drop the Husk Hermit.
Yep. Just barely keeping that Steel Singer alive, by the way. If the Unleash wasn't there, he was in a bad spot. Those enhanced Shade Wings have so much damage.
True, but if he had a Hidden Passage instead, he would have been fine. So
yeah, also true. There were definitely a lot of outs, but there was just also the potential for disaster there. It looks like another pretty close fight for Gabriel.
Gabriel, he did get a flawless victory though.
Oh wow! If you're set up on an Unleash, so Gabriel might need the Unleash here, but if you're set up on Unleash already, the adaptive mutation is actually really interesting. Flipping your Steel Singer, because as long as it has enough health to stay alive during these turns, alongside your Unleash, I think you're perfectly fine. You'd rather flip it to make sure it's actually full killing units with its strikes.
If you look at Cell-Link's one right now, the totals are pretty similar. So I don't know if that would even be worth it. Yeah, right now his health his damage is higher than his health.
Looking at some very messy waves for Jake over there. All the rooting, but none of the damage output. And if that boss merges with that wave, which it's about to, that's rough.
Yeah, he has no health left. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Something weird happened with audio. So, I mean, he can tiresome climb somebody out of there, but that's not gonna do much.
No, yeah, I think he's dead. I can't see, but that does not look like a big number next to the damage on the boss there.
It's a 260
out of what 795, like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, not even close. I mean, it might be a draw already issue. You get these Infernos too late, and you're not going to be able to clear those waves. So I'm curious to see in this fight, at what point does he draw that Inferno?
So he's restarting this one. I think this is the second restart for the fight. Yeah. And Never Nathaniel is still in ring 4.
Yeah, he's been trying to work this fight out for a while. I like a lot of components of his build. The light skift is really strong if you're overstacking, but he just doesn't seem to have enough damage output here.
Poor man, Never Nathaniel.
So it's actually a pretty big missed opportunity there. The Razor Sharp Edge obviously being looked at as damage on the Horned Warrior and Wilmington on those first couple turns, but I think these first couple waves for Jake are such a big problem, and there's such a good solution in just Razor Sharp edging a couple of Sycophants as removal spells, as extra copies of removal spells. I think that would actually save him a lot more than he would lose in not having the Razor Sharp edge down early.
Maybe. He does have the Inferno.
Yeah, so the Inferno drawn in the middle of the setup there. I think previously he hadn't put the Horned Warrior on his kill floor. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is a much cleaner sweep on this fight.
Question is, do you Inferno the middle floor?
Yeah, so if you do that, you're going to lose one of your units, but you avoid.
Okay.
Yeah, you avoid the possibility of stacking that boss up with a bunch of random units.
The problem is he has no health. He has no sustain at all. And that was worried about before. Like, he could Tiresome Climb, which would save him 42 health times 2. I would have Tiresome Climbed.
Right? Yeah, I think the Tiresome Climb is the way to go.
Like, if he did, I think he would have had it.
All right, so shifting back over to... Oh, go ahead. All right.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, like, since he was doing so much... He was doing half his health without Tiresome Climb and 84 damage. It's a lot of mitigation, so I think he would have easily had it with Tiresome Climb. That's all I got.
So shifting back over to the left half of the screen, I like these two overstacking builds. There are certain units that work really well in overstacking builds, and there are certain units that are kind of just included. They feel like they're just there. Horned Warrior and the Rail Beater are kind of medium, but things like Alpha Fiend and Shattered Shell and Steel Singer and Husk Hermit are really, really high impact units to put in your overstacking deck. I like these a lot.
Well, I mean, I don't think that Alpha Fiend is specifically good in an overstacking deck. It's more that it's large, so it's easier to get them in there. I don't think having like 3 or 4 Alpha Fiends is actually that much stronger.
So you don't really want multiple Alpha Fiends because you're going to lose a lot of strikes. But Alpha Fiend gains a lot in overstacking decks from the lengths of the combats. So he tends to perform very well in relentless fights.
Yeah, I think easily Selink has this. We'll see. Gabriel able to clear out a ring 7 with no damage. So recovering from his restart before with a lot of flawless victories. See, that alternate universe with the important work.
Yeah, there was also Imp Sickle was offered earlier, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then we had Imp in the box.
It's not the way to go with an overstacking deck. I have built overstacking decks that involved heavy imp strategies, but you have to have some imps that are like scaling themselves up to a pretty considerable degree to be able to like have it be worth to put them on middle floor and then send them up. Though March of Shields is one way to really leverage that. You send an imp up and then you get to use it as a chump blocker still.
Even just Welder Helper and Imp in the box and important work, like that's enough because you have scaling with Razor Sharp Edge and Root Seeds, and you have a Strangler. I think that build could have worked had you known it was coming.
So we have Gabriel thinking hard about a holdover here because he has the Unleash and he has the Hidden Passage. And they both want it. He goes for the
Tiresome
Unleash.
Climb.
Yeah, Tiresome Climb as well.
is also.
I think I agree in his case that the unleash is the way to go. Sustain has been a slight problem, and he doesn't
Yeah,
currently have a plan to deal with divinity. Though you could have dealt with divinity with the hidden passages. The problem with that is if you have to use your holdover hidden passage to set up your overstack floor, you might not be able to afford to do that for a few turns on divinity without experiencing great cost. And a few turns, given the units that he has, might be enough for divinity to actually kill some things.
um, I, poor Never Nathaniel. Another restart.
Yeah,
You
I'm
got Stings.
I'm not big on that
I
rail
like
beater.
Priority's Cloak. I like Priority's Cloak because there's a big health gap from starting health to max health with those Steel Stingers.
Yeah, it's a pretty free sweep, pretty free wave clear in those first couple waves, whichever one you line up with your first unleash.
And then that's like 20 extra damage at the end of the round, um, at least, which you often have low health units in the back.
So Sal coming up with two Steel Singers and the Husk Hermit. The Husk Hermit paying off because he did skip a Hell Vent or two, so it allowed him to do other things. I still probably would have liked to see three Steel Singers, but honestly, if you're debating between three Steel Singers or two Steel Singers and a Husk Hermit in your overstacking deck, you probably don't have much to worry
Yeah,
about
I mean,
anyways.
having a quick sweeper you can't complain about having a quick sweeper.
He also got pretty lucky with one of the historian events. Extra bursts of damage here from putting trample onto a sweeper. The amount of damage that trample plus sweep can stack up is actually pretty considerable. I think really the only gripe I have with his build is not taking the March of Shields. I think it
Yeah,
complements the
but
deck very well.
considering quick and every one of his units is healthy.
So I mean March less for the sustain and more just for the ability to rearrange his floor, you know?
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Is he's putting his sweeper in front, and it's got a good amount of health. Usually, you want the sweeper to attack first anyway. So I'm not like it. Probably would have been okay, but it would have been less healing.
Looks like we have Gabriel having a little bit of a problem with the tall wave. Obviously, he's going to be able to strangle it here. But those dark wings can actually, enhanced dark wings can build up really, really fast when you're trying to strangle them. Yeah, I think that dark wing is actually going to be a big problem for him. Curious about the decision to not send your other unit up with the hidden passage.
He sent a unit up there. Oh, you mean his other hidden passage?
Yeah, he chose to play Razor Sharp Edge over the second hidden passage.
He'll get him eventually.
Meanwhile,
I'm not
Nate
in
on
love with.
fight 4.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not in love with the thorn fruit. Like, it's. I don't know. I feel like there's more important cards to get to, and yes, it gives you pseudo draw, but the spell itself doesn't do much.
So I think the merit for Thorn Fruit here is the like sixth and seventh copies of your hidden passes aren't nearly as important as copies 1 through 5. So drawing, or 1 through 4. So getting to your second cycle of your deck faster is really, really important, and is more important than the cost of gunking up your deck with random stings later on in the second cycle. And at the very least, while you're initially making your first stings, it is getting you to second cycle faster. It's just going to be a little clunky to get you to third cycle. I do like this adaptive mutation, though. He's not the one on the Steel Singers, but it's still sweet.
I don't like adaptive mutation here. I don't like it on unless you have some sort of like damage buff, like rage or like spikes give you damage or something like that.
So let's see. He can deal with double Gilded Wing Wave. One of them is Shard Enhanced, so it's a pretty solid check for the deck. I mean, the amount of just like raw sweep damage compounding with the burst damage from the Alpha Fiends is really solid.
Alpha Fiend, yeah, is really getting up there attack-wise.
And Sowlink kind of cruising to a finish now. The Steel Singer's easily big enough to just destroy Enhanced Mini Boss, and at this point, with the sweep from Husk Hermit and how much just raw damage output and individual number of strikes he has, I don't think he's going to have any problems with waves. He gets to supplement that with Iron Drop Cage on his hidden passage, just locking down Divinity to guarantee the relentless fight as well.
He might get a flying kill. And that's what he's working towards.
Maybe. It's very small on my screen. My vision's not great, so I can't tell.
Oh, he's got 1,600 damage on this turn. So he's only got to do 1,200 more damage. He has 2 waves to do it.
There it goes. Yeah.
It. And that's thanks to the sweeper, really. So sweeper over Steel Singer, I guess it paid off. So we got a flying kill. I'm going to check his final score here. Never Nathaniel, I don't think he's making it past ring 4.
No, he's trying though. And with Jake having some pretty big stumbles earlier, I think we're looking at Sowlink Gabriel.
Yep. Okay. He's in the run summary. I'm gonna pull it up again here. He beat my score of 375 somehow. Very impressive. So
I mean, you gotta get on the floor.
Right, one.
Oh, that Gabriel's hand in this Divinity fight. There's a lot of units and not a lot of hidden passes. Cheater's hand helping him out a little bit. But draw order here hurting him definitely. So now the question of
Selling had 190 shards, so he's got a very solid 129 points.
Yeah, Gabriel with a very bad draw order here. I think he'll be fine. The Cheater's hand helped him out a lot, but it wasn't clean. And he doesn't have. He does have the Priority's Cloak, but he doesn't have units that are missing a lot of health to go with it. In fact, the Scorched Steel actually costing him a little bit here, costing him some damage output next turn.
Doing a good amount of damage, though.
So I'm interested in the check of enhanced mini bosses for Gabriel's deck, honestly. His tall damage is not.
I think he's going to be okay. Like, he's going to have. The thing is, the Alpha Fiends attack every turn, even after the enemies are dead. So he's got a couple more waves of 3 attacks, which means plus 15 damage per attack.
I was going to say, I'd actually like to see him start trying to pre-clear that frontliner on the enhanced mini-boss wave. Though he's probably just clearing it with his double sweep anyways. So I'm guessing it's irrelevant. Yeah, he's clearing it with sweeps.
I mean, the Alpha Fiends are doing 270 damage. So I don't think there's anything to worry about.
Now we can start drop caging Divinity if he wants.
I think he's on pace for a flying kill.
Oh, he's got to
Man,
take a look.
I thought you would have this boss, but he will after he plays some cards.
Yeah, it's not by an incredible amount.
I mean, he's got a razor sharp edge still to play.
Ugh. Yeah, I think he'll get the flying kill. Locked up. How is Jake looking? So Jake fighting Seraph right now. Looks like maybe some slight draw order problems, nothing insane. He's floating a unit on top of Cheater's Hand. Cheater's Hand actually playing extremely well with the overstacking deck here.
Not extremely well as far as completing the run quickly, but definitely helps with the timing.
Yeah, with 8.5 minutes left, I think he'll be fine in terms of time as long as he doesn't get reset on Seraph.
So it's looking like, well, the problem is next wave is a mini boss. So he's going to almost kill the boss this turn, Gabriel. But then he's got to deal with a huge health unit.
So is the flying kill, I can't remember, is the flying kill worth more than the perfect fight than the flawless?
So
Or actually,
flying kill is worth, let's see, it's similar to a flawless fight.
okay, because he would have the option to hidden passage. Okay, he gets there with a sweep. He had just enough in terms of sweep damage to kill Divinity without having to worry about carving through the boss first. If he didn't, there's a consideration there points wise to just sending up the boss and taking a bunch of pyro damage.
Oh, to get the flying kill.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tabulate his in-game score is higher than Cell-Link's, but in-game doesn't know about his restart.
It looks like thanks to Cheater's Hand, Jake has managed to get there. He's got it set up. Yeah. So he'll get there against Seraph. Cheater's Hand should be able to insulate him from bad draw order issues in Divinity fight. 7 minutes, not like an abundant amount of time for Divinity. It's certainly enough. But if you have to slow down for a minute, it can be a bit of a problem.
Oh, there's a tie. Gabriel and Cell-Link tie, which means that Cell-Link wins technically on a time completion bonus.
At the very least, given the disparity in time, it can't just be blamed on internet unless Gabriel is playing on a toaster.
Oh, never mind. I didn't give him a flying kill. Gabriel wins.
Okay. I figured it would be Cell-Link.
Yeah, because he didn't restart, but Gabriel had a lot more flawless victories. In fact, everything but the one where he had to restart.
I have a shocking update. Nate has died on Fight 4.
Oh. Okay.
See, my thought wasn't that he wouldn't die because he was going to defeat it. My thought was that he would never die because he would never give up.
Well, this isn't a never give up challenge. He has a time limit.
I'm saying he knows what's up with that series. You can't lose if you don't give up. Yeah, so I still like the Cheater's Hand. It looks like Jake's setup is going to be fine. Well, yeah, definitely got to send that rail meter up. If he wouldn't have put that rail meter on, it would have been in trouble.
How many shards does Jake have? He has 140.
He has blur number of shards. That's what I read.
Blur. Yeah. So I don't know how many flawless victories he has, but he would need. Let me do the math here. What? There's something off with the. Oh, I put 140 for flying kills instead of shards. He has 800 points. No. He would need to have had he would need more flawless victories than exist.
All right.
So
Now, Narninian, by your tone not suggesting that you're tabulating Nate's score, are we counting him out here? That's what's happening.
I'm counting out Nate. I'm just doing it. I could check his run summary. Let me go check. Let me check his run summary.
Yeah, yeah. You probably should. I figure it's probably pretty close.
He completed 2 rings
Okay.
because the other 2 don't count, but they were both flawless. So and he had 55 shards.
Interesting. So
boom.
Jake abandoning the trying to get the rail beaters set up like cleanly. I mean, he's throwing it behind the World Herb, which it's going to keep it alive, but he didn't want to keep floating with Cheater's Hand. I'm not sure if there's much point to not just putting it on top of Cheater's Hand. Yeah, now he has to send it up with tiresome climb.
So it's official. Soundlink and Gabriel are moving on. Never Nathaniel will be helping us out tomorrow. This is my ultimate game plan. I picked a seed I knew he would struggle with. I know you picked the seed, but I influenced you.
Sure, we'll go with that. Honestly, Nate being the organizer is pretty fitting because we all know who the winner is. It's never Nathaniel.